Good morning, everybody. This is our third episode of the Voices of Valhalla, and today we are doing our first guest appearances. We have Bruno and Mobley. So for today, they're going to be going over what they've done, their best times, their worst times, all that kind of good stuff. Give us a little insight on what it was like on their side to be in the Marines and in the Army. So, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Hey, good morning. Keith Mobley. I'm from Louisiana, 35 years old. Joined the Marine Corps in 2013 as a flight equipment tech. That's actually where I met Bruno down here. Uh, let's see, I started off at the I level, which is more technical. After about 2 years, I went to the O level, which is where I got more hands-on experience with the birds, stuff like that. And I got out in 2018.
Damn.
I did
Bruno? Oh, you should.
law enforcement for 5 years after that, and I just recently joined the Army 2 years ago. So
What's
here
the
we
biggest
are.
difference you've seen in the Army and Marines?
Oh man, there's actually a lot. Like in the Marines, it's very much a brotherhood. I can meet you, and just because you're a Marine, like you're my best friend. But here, it's very, at least where I'm at, it's very dog eat dog. Everybody's looking out for themselves instead of the whole organization. It's kind of a mindset of your career is an individual event type
Right.
of mindset.
For Ramos's PTSD, tell us what base you're stationed at.
Oh, Fort Stewart,
Ah,
Georgia.
boy, do we got some stories about Fort
That's the
Stewart.
worst base I've
Oh
ever been
man,
on in my life.
Agreed.
Hands down.
terrible there.
I'm
Counting
not
down
even
the
in
days.
Bowling
anymore,
alley?
and me and Mobley already have a story about Fort Stewart.
Oh hell,
Do they still have that bowling alley on base?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
we drank
They
that place
actually
almost out of business.
they actually did a mandatory fun day for us over there the other day. But
Oh,
luckily I had an appointment in Savannah, so I couldn't make it.
Oh man. When we went, we ran them out of alcohol that one night. They're like, "Yeah, you guys can't buy anymore. We don't have."
I hadn't seen Marines on base here,
I
but I
think
guess
it was
that's
the
because we got
Rangers
rid
that
of
used to go
tanks.
there
Yeah.
that I know of.
yeah, fuck that place. I hate it there. There is a place. I don't know if they still have it off base, and I think it's like buy 10 and then it's unlimited wings, and it's literally a fucking hole in the wall place off the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. Like 100%. If they didn't have wings, they were gonna chop us up when we went. 100%. So,
I don't know about that. I
oh man,
try
I wish
to
I could remember it.
pretty much all I've seen is chain restaurants around here. Though we did have one pretty good mom and pop place, but they shut down right after I got here.
Damn. It has been what 4 5 years, four
No,
years
it's been
since we've
like
been
6 years,
there.
I think now.
Whew.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, Bruno, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What's going on over there?
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bruno Egros. I'm from New Caney, Texas. Joined the Marines in 2013. Got out in 2018. I joined as a flight equipment technician also. Uh, okay. So I started at Miles 29, and like Mobley said, it was more technical with the actual flight equipment for flight crew. So doing things like life preservers, breaking them down, inspecting them, building them back up, making sure that they were safe and good. And then about a year and a half of doing that, we had a slight change of command for our work center. And we
Mm-hmm.
ended up with a staff sergeant who did not care for most of the work center. And I got sent to HMLA 269, the O level, which was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. So I ended up being a flight equipment technician, being more hands-on with the aircraft and the flight crew. We worked on AH-1 Whiskies, Cobras, and UH-1 Yankee Hueys. That was a really, really fun time. I learned quite a bit about how to actually think critically, use a publication, and work with my hands, figure out problems, and actually become more of a people person. 'Cause you had to, yeah, you had to work with a lot of other
Mm-hmm.
work centers in order to get things done. It wasn't just, here's what you need
And
to
the
do, go
pilots
and
on
do
top
it.
of that.
Which, yes, and the pilots, which I do have a little joke about pilots.
Okay.
So, what's the difference between a pilot and somebody from Texas?
What?
Absolutely nothing. They will let you know.
They're buzzing.
That's funny. That's funny.
So, I got out in 2018,
Mhm.
and then I've done a couple different things since then. When I first got out, didn't really have a direction on what I was going to do, but I was married, had 2 kids, well, 1 kid, and needed to have something to do. So I started working at Walmart overnight part time. And then I started A&P school because that was a natural career move for me. Was going to work on airplanes or helicopters out in the civilian world. But of course, what we did in the Marines does not translate into the civilian world unless you were 100% prepared and doing your research. So, did A&P school for 2 years. And during that time, I quit working Walmart and I started working at Mesa Airline at the Bush Intercontinental Airport in the engine shop. I got a lot of really good experience there. Just continuing learning how to be a mechanic and getting to work with all different kinds of engines and engine parts, and that was a really good experience too. And then I did graduate A&P school, but COVID happened. So I could not get my A&P certificate. And then during COVID, I ended up getting a divorce. So I had to find another job. And then I started working as a heavy equipment mechanic. So things like construction equipment and logging equipment, log skidders, dozers, tractors, excavators, skid steers, things of that nature. Still continuing to be a mechanic, just going in a little bit different direction. That was probably one of the most toxic places I have ever had to work. So, to include the Marine, which we all have stories about it being toxic and not toxic. So then I kept the job search going, and I got lucky with somebody that I used to work with at Mesa. She actually worked for JB Hunt Transportation as a trailer technician. And they had a job opening. I applied. She put in a good word for me. And at first, I got denied by the recruiter. Then the maintenance manager, one of the best people I've ever known, Mr. Fred White, who is sadly no longer with us,
Yep. Rip.
he got a hold of me on his own after the recruiter's decision and took me out to dinner for an interview. And the interview went really well. So I started working at JB Hunt as a mobile trailer technician. Did that for just a little over a year. And then that's where I met Mr. Skylar Race here.
That's me.
We ended up working on the same truck together. And for the first week, it was a little tense in the truck nothing weird. We just didn't really know what to say to each other. We were kind of reserved and laid back. And then one morning, it came out that we were both Marines, and it was over. It was over with. And then I ended up meeting somebody, my new girlfriend, absolutely beautiful, wonderful woman. And I ended up getting another job opportunity from, it's a very large company, but her brother-in-law works for the training corporate side of it. And he said, well, if there's an opening down there, you should apply. And I looked into it. There was an opening, and I applied. And now I have a fairly decent paying job. I work a lot of overtime as a mobile trailer tech and just try to make the best of what I can.
Very good. So, you guys both worked on aircraft, right? Both worked on the flying things. What was your guys' favorite aircraft that you worked on?
Surprisingly, mine was the Cobras.
Cobras?
Same.
Badass. We did a joint op one time in California with the Cobras. They're some bad motherfuckers, dude.
They're pretty sick.
I'll tell you what,
pretty much.
if I was in an opposing tank and I saw a Cobra coming after me, I'd make peace with whatever God I believe in and fucking, because it's over. There's no chance. What am I gonna do? Throw some rocks at it? That's about all I got. Like, Cobras
I don't know
are
if you remember
badass.
this, BJ, but those two, the Cobras and the Hueys, are very similar, like parts wise. They you can take some of the parts off a Huey, at least for us, and you could put it in the whiskey. Like some of the parts were interchangeable.
Huh.
Yes. Yes. Some of the parts for us were interchangeable. But
That's speaking from strictly our shop. I don't know what airframes and all that other stuff, but for Flight E, it was, that way.
Fucking Lejeune side, well, for you guys, whatever that fucking little camp is, but Lejeune side, we never really had we didn't have any accidents really when it came to flying objects. I don't think there was one while we were in.
Not that I recall.
Do you guys remember any
had-
accidents or anything like that? It was mainly 2-9.
So we had a guy fall out the back of an Osprey. We had a guy get struck by lightning on the top of an Osprey.
And there was also two guys working on top of a CH-53 Super Stallion, and they both got struck by lightning. We had a L5 roll in real fast.
Occurrence.
Jesus.
Yeah. When you have a weather situation like that pop up, while you're on the flight line, you have absolutely no cover. So you just try to get your tools and get the hell out of there as fast as you can.
I feel like everybody should be wearing rubber band bracelets or something.
Something, man. Like, you're on top of a plane.
There were some days I prayed for a lightning storm.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Oh,
So
shit.
I have a question. So how? I know Skylar and I did a lot of like PMCS and checks on tanks, which we had like a book that was pretty thick, and I think a tank compared to a helicopter or airplane is completely different. Probably like not even half as much goes into a tank as there does to a helicopter. How in depth is your guys' checks and maintenances when you come to like looking at these helicopters?
So it really would depend on what inspection cycle the helicopters were on. So you had anything from a 30 to 90 day inspection to a heavy maintenance overhaul where it would get sent to a completely different work center that was all civilians, and all they did was break everything down, inspect literally every nut and bolt, every rivet, every panel, and put it all back together again. But because there are so many different systems and there were so many work centers, all of the daily inspections and all of the maintenance was split up between the work centers. So you doing your inspection was just a small part of the whole for the day or the inspection cycle.
Huh.
Interesting.
So pretty much a lot of inspections, a lot of making sure everything's good. A lot of
Everything had its own inspection cycle. Like I remember the engine fire suppression systems, they had their own inspection cycle. The CADs that would, bust out the windows in emergency, it had its own inspection.
So there's a lot.
Everything has its own inspection cycles. Even the pilot's gear, it has its own inspection cycle.
no
Oh my
shit.
God.
So
Oh, yeah.
every day you're pretty much just checking a new inspection cycle, more or less, a new component to inspect.
Yeah, depending on the
Pretty busy,
aircraft and yeah.
Gotcha. No shit. That
Now,
sounds
when
like
it
a
comes
lot
to
of work for
inspecting
us.
these things, is there
Fucking-
someone that like has this all memorized, or do they follow like a procedure, like a book?
Oh, no,
No,
we have the pubs.
that is
Just
the
like
one
y'all's,
thing that you do
TM.
not do. Yeah, the one thing you do not do with aircraft is memorize anything.
All right.
Because your
that's good to know.
publications are constantly changing. You do not do anything unless you have a publication right there with you.
That's
And
I
you read it.
remember,
step by step.
I don't know if you remember, but Kelly always used to tell me the pubs were written in blood. Everything in there is because somebody has gotten injured or killed.
Yep,
Fair enough,
absolutely. There
I don't
may
think
be
the
some
tank one
things.
got updated at all while we were in.
No, our pubs never got updated.
Yeah, I remembered that thing like the back of my hand within a few.
That's how it is here in the Army too.
I remember you said everything was written in blood. I remember the first thing we got taught in tank school was I forget who the teacher was, but they brought us in and they said the tank is made for killing and it does not care who it is, so you better do your job right. And I was like, oh shit, we're serious now, boys. This ain't about running fast no more. Holy shit. So, if you guys, I don't know, let's put it on a scale, could rate your time in service, and Mobley, you probably got two different rating scales being Army and Marines. Give me a 1 to 10 of your time in the Corps.
Let's see. I'm gonna go with a solid 7.5 or 8
For the Corps or for the Army?
for the Corps.
7.5 or 8. Okay. Okay.
So I loved my time in. I loved my time in.
Okay. Hey, more power to you, man. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. What would you
Me
give
and
the Army?
me and oh man. So I'm in a different spot in life. That's the thing. I think overall for the military, it's definitely for young single people. Once you throw a family in the mix, once you have people you care about, it changes the dynamics of everything. I used to love going out to training. I used to love, going and seeing new places. And now it's like, well, I would still like to do that, but my family's going to be here.
Mhm.
So it's a whole different dynamic for me now.
See, and for me and Mobley, while we were in together, and me and him were best friends while we were in, if anybody didn't know that or had any questions about that. We spent just about every weekend doing whatever we wanted together. It was great.
Hunting,
For me-
fishing,
Hunting, fishing, playing music, it was
whatever.
great.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a different dynamic than that. Because while we were in, I was the one who was married and had a kid and all of that. So my entire short-lived Marine Corps career, I did have a family, but I was also young.
So what
So
would
it
you
was-
give it? Scale 1 to 10? Boom. What was it?
I would give it a solid 6.
6?
Solid 6.
Hey, so we're both above 60% for how much we enjoyed it.
But we were in the air wing. We were in
That's
the air
true.
wing.
That's true.
We were in the air wing.
I heard the air wing's very good. I heard it's very good.
Quality of life is so much better.
Yeah, I I'd give mine like a 2, maybe.
That tracks though. You know.
I think 2 is
We
a good assessment. I would agree. I would concur.
so there was this thing that, dude, I couldn't tell you how many times. I couldn't tell you what was doing it. I shit you not. It would be sunny, beautiful, wonderful weather for fucking 364 days straight. Beautiful. The minute
Yep.
tanks would leave the ramp to go to the field, you would think all hell just broke loose and the fucking gods were mad and fucking raining down on us.
People throwing track in the rain.
Oh, dude. I thankfully never threw track. I don't think you ever did either, did you?
Hell no.
So throwing track, for those of you that don't know, you're driving. Your track's on a sprocket. It's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning. If you get a rock or a big chunk of dirt or something in there, it'll throw the track off that sprocket. And then you've got about a, 3-4 hour process of breaking it down,
It depends.
rolling
yeah.
it back, throwing it back up, and then zipping it back together.
It's a whole procedure.
Now doing
So
that,
I actually have a question for you guys on that one.
what's up?
So, like I said, I did a little bit of heavy equipment mechanicking for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when you do the tracks on, let's say, an excavator, there's a master link that you have to find. Do track techs also have a master link, or is it just you can do it from any one of them?
You can do it from any one of them. But I will say this. If you can... Now, I did this after... Once I was in Kuwait and stuff, okay? In the Marines, it's just you fucking break it down wherever you can. If you can get one that you know where it's at, it makes it a lot easier to pop it off. But there's no master link. It's you can just take them all off from any spot.
What makes it easier on the tank is that in the front there's a wheel that just serves like as kind of like a rotating pivot point, and it's fixed there by tension. So there's a spot behind there that you can release the tension, and that wheel drops. So it makes the track a little bit like decompress.
So
Yeah.
instead of
Or
it
you
being
could kinda
fucking
just-
ink, it kind of droops it down, and now it's kind of loose. Still heavy as shit, so...
It's heavy as hell. Yeah.
Oh,
You
dude.
gotta put we used to do some sketchy stuff. We used to, what was that big bar called? The tanker bar.
The tanker bar.
Somebody will hold the tanker bar up against the link, and then the person behind will grab a sledgehammer and just boom.
I'm pretty sure we've all seen it here. You know that video on TikTok that was going around where the dude was holding the thing like this, and the dude hit him in the head with the pipe?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
100% was us.
Every day,
But, like,
every day.
we were just good.
We never learned. There were some people that got their fingers smashed, but we're like, it's
Oh, yeah.
okay. Next one, come hold it.
Yep. Next one. We had, what was it? I know at least 2 of us got tips of their fingers ripped off
I think
for different ways. So it was great.
Shame.
the thing is, we had the proper equipment for it, but it was just always broken, so we had to go back to our caveman ways.
Yep. There was proper equipment that never worked, so we figured if you hit it hard enough, it'll fix itself. And that's what we did. The
So that's
best-
a good thing to lead into my question I have for y'all.
Yeah, what's up?
So I have a buddy out here. They're all out in the field right now.
Mhm.
And he was telling me that out of all their tanks, I think they have like 1 or 2 that are actually running. How often were y'all in the same situation?
So we had
You know,
a
you're
tank.
out in the field and just, everything's breaking.
We had a tank, and its name was Big Frank. And
Big Frank.
that tank, I don't care what you did. I don't care who you knew. I don't care if your governor was out there. Big Frank was breaking down.
Guaranteed.
And we took parts from Big Frank. We called it the part tank, pretty much. Big Frank came out. It got to the LZ wherever we were going to do field ops, and it broke down right there. And we would just take parts off Big Frank, and then it would get towed in. So when it comes to breaking parts and tanks being fully operational, no.
Almost
You were
never.
lucky to have one tank once in a while that was fully operational. Now, could you make it run? Yeah, we could make them all run.
Yeah.
But to say a tank is 100% combat ready, fucking balls to the wall ready. No. 0% chance.
Yeah.
Not out.
Every time you went out to the field, you were probably 100% likely fixing a tank. Yeah.
Yes. Something went wrong. There was I forget the numbers, Ramos, you might remember. It was like for every 1 hour of operation is 8 hours of maintenance.
That sounds about right. Something like
Something
that.
like
yeah.
that.
That sounds
So-
very familiar, actually. Yeah.
You go out to the field, let's just do easy numbers. Let's say you go out for a day, 20 hours, right? That's 160 hours of maintenance.
hmm
Yeah. Math for
It was
Marines. We took it.
Yeah, that's how it was for us too. That said, I want to say for flight time, 1 hour flight time was like 8 hours of maintenance.
It's
Well,
crazy.
What was so annoying is that before we would go out to the field, our sole purpose was to get the tanks up running for the field op. So we would work even later hours, longer days, just to get these tanks to the field. And sure enough, literally the day of the field op, all the tanks would be operational. You know, yeah, everything's good. Everybody could go to the field. You kind of get excited because you think you're not going to go to the field because your tank doesn't work. But then it always passes somehow. And then sure enough, you get out there, you get ready, you get settled, you go on one run, something breaks. And then
Yep.
you're up late again.
Up
at
late,
night, trying to
all
fix
night,
it.
trying to fix it. The
You got
mechanics
an early
had-
operation in the morning, and then the tanks, you got to get it up and running. Oh, my God. And then it starts raining.
I'll tell you what, I became a master at taking naps while my foot was on the brake. Like, you just... And then they yell at you, hey, Rice, wake the fuck up. Fuck, start going again.
That's how it is.
Yeah, not a good time. So, what, if you guys could narrow it down to your favorite memory of being in, like, you know, was it you got to watch some shit blow up, you didn't get to watch some shit blow up, whatever the situation was, what would it be?
You go first, BJ.
My favorite memory of being in absolutely 100% has to be all the shenanigans that me and Mr. Keith Mobley right there got into. Because the regular everyday everyday life for us was, you know, pretty consistent. Nothing too crazy happened, but that's how you want it. So we found excitement elsewhere and in other activities. And
Right.
oh boy, did we.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Mobley, what
I think
about
that
you?
hits the nail on the head. So I was afforded a lot of opportunities. I got to go up on multiple moto flights. We went and I got to shoot the 50 cal, you know, out in, that was at 29 Palms. We got to do a flyover out in Noki. That was pretty cool because we flew the barn, which is every aircraft. Like we got all the aircraft up and we flew every single one of them.
No shit.
So, I mean, I got to do stuff like that.
That's pretty cool.
Just going, you know, Thailand, Cobra Gold, the Philippines. But I think my favorite memory is still going to be all the shenanigans.
Right. I don't know why it sticks out with me so much, but I remember one time me and Ramos left work and we went to Wendy's, right? And just a normal day. And it was a long day, wasn't it? Like it was
horrible day.
super long. And fucking so we pull up to Wendy's and we're like, let me get a full for full. Both those always got a full for full. And we pull up to the window and the I think was it a dude or a woman that was in there?
I think it was a
Whoever it
woman.
was. Handed us the food and I'm grabbing it. I'm like, go. Ramos, go. And he's like, what? I'm like, just go. And he's like, so we obviously had already paid. So he drives and we get away from the Wendy's. And he's like, why did you just make me go? I'm like, they gave us an extra bag. That is one of my fondest
night,
memories
bro.
of getting
You
extra
actually
food.
have that picture.
Yeah, we do have a picture of it.
I took a picture when we got to our barracks room. For those
I
that
don't know
know,
why,
Skylar
but
and I
after a
lived
long
together,
day,
too.
that just made it so much better. Just
Yeah.
We used to call those freebies. That's life giving you a freebie.
hell yeah. And he was like,
Yeah.
what? Remind me to never rob a bank with him, because he'd be like, what do you mean we got to go?
I was just so confused. I was so tired. If you see the picture that we took, we used to live together and we were in a room and both of us have like dirt all over our face, dirty camis. It was like 9 p.m. Oh my God.
God,
That was a good day though. That was a good day.
Horrible. Yeah. All right, so if you guys could narrow it down to one thing, what would be the biggest challenge you have faced since getting out?
I'll go first on this one. So I think the hardest thing I had the hard time with was getting away from the people. The military is a certain type of people. You know, we all know this.
Yep.
And you get out there and then all of a sudden nobody has your back. It's just you, you know, if you're married to you and your family. If you don't have a good support system with your family, you know, it's just you. And with that, you know, the loneliness sets in, the depression sets in, you know, you start missing the boys, you know, because for me, you know, people I served with, that was my family.
Oh, yeah.
And, trying to navigate those waters and doing it by yourself, or you feel like it's by yourself, you know. For me, I still had that pride of, oh, well, I can't ask for help.
Yep.
And I think for me, that's what that was.
I get that. I say it all the time. I never miss the times of being in, but I miss the boys.
Mm-hmm.
That's the boys. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. That's what it's gonna be for me too. It's gonna be, you know, the people that I was with and everybody that I ended up calling brother. And I mean, you don't get prepared for it. Nobody prepares you for it. It's not in your TRS class. It's just one day you're there, your brothers, your best friends, you're doing any and everything together because it's your way of life now. And it has been for years. You feel like you grow up doing that, even though you haven't. That's what you feel like.
Yeah.
And then one day it's just gone. It's just gone. Now you can still talk to each other on the phone, you know, like we're doing right now. We're doing this podcast. We're all together. But a phone call, while we know it can save a life, it's still not the same as being there with that person
Right.
Mm-hmm.
or people. It's just a different dynamic that, yeah, it's nice to talk to the boys, but it doesn't beat actually hanging out with the boys.
No, absolutely. Totally get that. And yeah, that's kind of what the whole focus of, you know, the podcast is kind of like you guys were saying, the hardest thing to get over is definitely the loneliness. And it, like you said, your parents can be there, your family can be there, your old lady can be there, your kids can be there, but it's never the same as the boys. Like, I totally get where you guys are coming from, and I couldn't have said it better myself. Hopefully, this podcast helps a lot of people. Hopefully, you guys feel a little bit better coming on it today. Just kind of sit down with some like-minded individuals and get some shit off your chest. That's kind of our focus. That's what we're aiming for here. So if you guys could give one piece of advice for somebody that's working on separating, working on coming back to the civilian side of things, what would it be?
Get your medical documented.
Right.
For the
Yeah.
love of God, get your medical documented.
Yes.
That's advice I got.
Get-
Man.
Get your VA stuff situated and set up long before you ever get out. Do not be like me and try to do it on your own 5 years after you got out because you were afraid that your crazy ex-wife was going to be able to get a hold of it when, guess what? She can't.
That's why I thank Hoyt to this day. Hoyt was a good friend of Skylar and I, but he was by a year out, he was already getting out pretty much. He was ready to go. He's like, I got a year left on my contract, but I'm ready to go. And he would always tell me, hey, Ramos, get your VA stuff done. Get your VA stuff done. And if it wasn't for him, I would have never done it while I was still in. And luckily, I got benefits pretty much within a month of being out.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
One thing about Hoyt too, and this is why I think he just threw his hands up. Like you said, he was like a year out, and he was like, "I'm done." Hoyt is a brick shit house. Hoyt's a big sumbitch, like fucking boom. And that dude was on BCP, and they tried to screw him time and time again. And that's why I think the leadership in a lot of places isn't good, and that's what drives a lot of people to get out. Dude, if you could picture, I'm not blowing smoke up Hoyt's ass. He's still a punk ass bitch. But Hoyt, if you could picture like a Marine, that's what little fucking Hoyt would be. Hoyt's my height, probably about what, 210, 220? He's brick shit house, and they were fucking, you're fat, Hoyt.
Yeah.
So I think he was done.
Dude's
I think
bicep
that led to
was
him
ripping
being
his shirts. Yeah, he was
Yeah, right.
brolic as hell.
Big sumbitch. I'd still whoop his ass. But yeah, fucking, it's a different world we live in. Two completely different universes, being in and being out. And hopefully we make a little bit of a difference doing this shit. Hopefully somebody will see this and be like, they're right. We'll tune in again next week. We'll tune in again every other week. Maybe they'll come on. Maybe they'll talk to us, that kind of shit. Yeah, that's about it. You guys got anything else you want to say? Any leaving remarks or anything like that?
Yeah, I got one. So for me, this is something that me and BJ have done since we've got out, is once a year, well, we try to. We missed them, I think, 1 year.
Yeah, we've missed 1 year.
That was the year that I came back in. I had to redo boot camp and AIT for the Army. But every year, me and him get together, and one of us will go see the other.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
And that, just doing that,
Helps
you'd be
keep
surprised how much something like that helps.
Oh
it
yeah.
gives you something to look forward to for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is how I ended up at Fort Stewart, being a civilian, and just the air, even as somebody who has been out for a little while now, just the air at Fort Stewart whenever I got there was depressing, to say the least.
That place.
We absolutely made the best of it. We had a good time. And we absolutely played with the wildlife. Can confirm
We almost
you can catch an alligator on a fishing pole.
on a spinnerbait.
On a spinnerbait.
Yeah, that place reeks of depression and.
Oh yeah.
God, just being.
It hadn't changed.
Yeah.
We had a guy, I'm not going to put his name out because I don't want him to get in any trouble or nothing, but we had a guy that was driving a tank and he ran over an alligator because it fucking swam up under his track.
I was riding behind
That
him.
actually just happened the other day.
No shit. God.
Right by my coffee, yeah. So the where my coffee is, here's the cough, and then the dirt road runs right behind it.
Mhm.
And I saw a bunch of buzzards eating on something. I was like, what is that? So I kind of got a little closer right there at the big ditch that separates the road from the parking lot. Sure enough, it was about a little 3.5 foot gator.
No shit.
Got run over.
God, I absolutely smoked a wild boar when I was out there. I was in a Humvee and I was cruising, dude, and it was like, it had to be like 2 a.m. And Gunny Barrios was the platoon lead, and he was my A driver. I'm cruising, and I see a group of them run across, and I got tanks behind me, right? Like, I'm not hitting the brakes. I'm not getting run over by a tank, so I'm just boom. And Gunny Barrios looks at me and he goes, "What the fuck, man? Why didn't you slow down?" I said, "Gunny, there's tanks back there. I'm not hitting the brakes. I'm smoke checking that fucking boar." Jesus. So we got out, took pictures of it.
I think he had damage. I remember that.
Yep. I sent him a Snapchat of it and said, "This little piggy didn't make it to the market."
Speaking of wild pigs, there was one time that me and Mobley were squirrel hunting after work, It was just one of those random things that, hey, the season had just opened. We were itching to get back out in the woods. We were ready to go do some kind of hunting. So we decided, hey, let's go squirrel hunting after work. Awesome, great. We check into our spot and we take off. We start running, right? We just got our shotgun with our small game shot. And we're going. We're seeing nothing but tiny little birds, right? Of course, fighting back the should I make a little puffball? But no, we ended up not. So we keep walking, and then it comes about time that it's going to start getting dark, and we need to get back to the truck so we can check out, get out of there, and make it to work for the next day. So normally on our little hunting expeditions, we would have somebody lead us in to where we were going to be hunting, because we would all scout out different spots, so we were all kind of unfamiliar. On this particular expedition, neither one of us had been there to that particular squirrel hunting spot. So I led us in on a certain path, okay? And anybody who knows the woods of North Carolina know that there is a lot of underbrush and they're super thick. Swamp everywhere. It doesn't matter.
I was about to say, what he meant to say was he led us straight into a fucking swamp.
Negative. This is not what happened. I led us in completely on dry land the whole time. Come time to turn around and leave, Bubba was like, hey, I got a good idea. Let me lead us back out. I know what way we came. I got this. I can get us back in like 10 minutes. We'll be good. Okay, go ahead. Lead on. Take us back to the truck. Oh, tree wizard. Just, okay, do it. 5 minutes later, walked us dead into a swamp. 3 minutes after that,
we were already in a swamp.
Just swamp after swamp after swamp. He ends up getting us lost. We cannot find our way back to the truck, and it is getting dark. His phone is...
No, it is dark.
My phone is almost dead, and I think I had 1% left, and we needed that 1%. So we thought we roughly knew about where the road was, and we headed in that direction. But
about that time, the game warden called.
The game warden did call. But as it was getting darker and darker and darker and darker and into it actually being dark, there was only one thing that we were really worried and concerned about. And that was running up on a bunch of wild pigs. Because if they are feeling a little froggy, you're done for. There's enough of them, you're done for.
Yeah.
We eventually made it back to the truck at about, 10 o'clock?
Jesus Christ.
I think it was about 10:30ish, yeah.
Yeah, it's about 10:30, and we started hunting at 5.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
No, it's about 4. We got off early that day. I remember we got off early.
Was it
But
4?
here nor there. It was still pretty early.
Yeah, okay, we were in the woods for about 5 or 6 hours during this whole escapade.
Jesus Christ. Fucking...
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, fuck the woods.
Oh, no, it was a great time.
It was a great time.
Well, I think we're approaching our time limit, boys. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to cut us off. And I want to thank you guys for coming on, talking with us. Giving your stories and all that. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Yeah.
Yeah. So to wrap it all up, if you want to be on the Voices of Valhalla, just let us know. As you can see, we are welcoming to guests. As always, links are in description. Give us a follow, listen to us, come hang out, shoot the shit. All right, everybody, have a good one.
See you. Thank you.
Bruno makes his gumbo from a box.